Let's start and see what the fuck happens.
Yeah. Receiving your content.
Ooh.
I love to receive content.
Yeah.
Starting. Heard a zipper. It's
Sorry.
another new link, I think. Oh boy.
Is it? Because before it seemed like it
The
both was and
chat
was.
stayed the same, but
it both is and isn't.
Oh Lord.
I'm gonna update and send one more try here.
Okay. Trying to make sure
Update
that my
number 2.
audio levels are equal to what your alls are.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
I guess the thing maybe that it is like it just sort of gives you a chat per channel, but then the video is the thing
that is exactly it. Yeah, I think that's right.
Let's see. I'm going to names only on that. So far, I haven't dropped anything, so fingers crossed.
All right, I've sent one more update. One last update.
One last
Hi,
ride.
chat. Well, yeah. The nice thing is I can see that it is live and that we seem to be... Stream health seems good right now.
Did you drop that new link?
Oh, I did not. Okay. I'll drop it in our chat.
You're good.
Jeez. Cross our fingers here.
It's almost like technology sucks.
Almost. Almost like that, exactly. I'm actually going to recall this one also.
Okay, frames are still holding, so...
Okay, I think we're doing it. I think this is working.
Hey.
We did it. We did a thing. All right, put that there. Boom. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. I have to make a marker for myself.
I thought you were clapping the demons out.
Get them demons out of here. And then the other thing I want to do is... Hey, everybody. Welcome to Live at the Table for May 2019. We had a false start for like 30 minutes as the internet fought us. But we are here. I am Austin Walker, and joining me today, Andi Claire.
Hey, fuck, last time, the false start we didn't do it. Gray's got me tripped up.
Andrew Lee Swan.
Oh, word. I'm the one that's tripping things up. It's not YouTube and internet and everything else.
Look, there's plenty of blame to go around.
I get it. Game 7's tomorrow. You're stressed out. It's fine.
Fair. I'm rooting for you, Andy. And Janine Hawkins.
Hey.
Hi. Hi. The internet's bad, but we're good. And not only are we good, we are playing a game called For the Queen. It's by Alex Roberts. Alex previously wrote for Waypoint. You can go search for Alex Roberts Waypoint and find some great stories about role-playing games over on Vice Games. I'm trying to hit all the bits that we did in the discarded previous version of this. I'm gonna go through the first few rules again. We're just gonna roll right into it because we didn't really get into anything too important. Though what I will say is, I guess the previous version of the stream did have us looking at a bunch of cool Queen cards, so maybe I'll include those as like a bonus, or I'll send those to Allie as clapcast material or something. But if this is stable, we can actually play this game, and to do that, we should start looking at the rules and go over kind of what the game is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Word.
Okay, so I'm going to start pulling cards out for us to read. I'm going to read the first one, and then we're going to go around the table the way we did before, except this time the internet isn't going to drop on us. So, 1, go around the table clockwise, taking turns reading these cards aloud. 2, Andy, can you read this one?
Are we on the right?
Oh, you are not on the right one. Sorry, I brought us back over here. My bad.
The land you live in has been at war for as long as any of you has been alive.
This tiny fucking card. Please, thank you.
I think we've got them in the sidebar under where our character sheets would usually be.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, I just clicked on that.
Oh,
and
hell
Oh,
yeah.
we
Let's
do.
go through those. That's going to save us so much time.
Yeah.
But
Please
then the
recall
audience
these
can't see
cards.
them.
I'll just bring them up as we read.
Oh, okay. All right.
So what are we on now? 3?
Yes. The
Dre?
queen has decided to undertake a long and perilous journey to broker an alliance with a distant power.
4.
The queen has chosen all of you and no one else to be her retinue and accompany her on this journey.
I just realized, Dre, you're going to need to pull all these up because
I
you
am.
were the host.
I am.
Okay, cool. 5. It's me.
That's you.
She chose you. She chose you because she knows that you love her.
You are welcome to look through the Queen cards for inspiration. If there is one that seems right for the group, place it on the table to inspire your story.
There's modified instructions for roll 20 here. The queen cards are in the queen deck. You can have everyone click choose to look at the deck, draw a single card at random, or draw a few to pick between. We drew them all. We looked at them all. We chose this one. Does anyone want to describe the queen we've chosen here?
Oh, wow.
If you zoom in.
Our queen might be Sif. I don't
I was gonna
understand
say
enough
the
about
same.
Sif
Yeah,
to like
no,
really say that definitively, but it's
Uh-huh.
possible.
Our queen's a Darth for sure. For absolute.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
let's go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say add some zippers and we got an organization member.
Right.
But,
True.
So here's what I see. I haven't seen this far into Riverdale, but I understand at some point they start playing D&D.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, to me, this is the villain that Jughead makes as like an analog for a time he gets pissed off at Cheryl Blossom.
That sounds right. That's good. She has like a cool golden crown that is on top of a dark, like black purple cowl, and a full black face mask that I can't tell if it's made of cloth or metal, but the whole thing is very metal. Capital M. It's got some like ruffly or spiky shoulder pads going on here, full length like arms and gloves, like everything. There's no skin showing. This is all black everything. She's a good queen. I'm here for sure. Who's up next? Where were we? Number 7?
I guess it's me?
Sure.
Set the card that reads, "The queen is under attack. Do you defend her?" aside.
Modified instructions for roll 20. Ignore this card. It will be addressed later.
All right, cool.
Shuffle the red prompt cards and place them face down on this in the center of the table.
All right, shuffled. And then we don't need to actually place them face down. They are just over to the side, 9. Pull the queen is under attack card from the middle of the deck for a game. Or sorry, put the queen is under attack card in the middle of the deck for a game that's approximately 30 minutes, or shuffle it into the bottom third of the deck to play for an hour or more. Modified instructions for roll 20. As the GM, click choose next to the prompt deck so you can see the location of the queen is under attack card. Shuffle the deck until the card is at the desired depth for game length, about in the middle for a 30-minute game, in the bottom third of the deck for a game that is an hour or more. I'm going to put it in the middle because I know who we are, and the idea that we would, I know what the fuck it is, so I'm going to shuffle until that card is in the middle. That's too early. I like that you can kind of see the card pretty clearly. That's the middle. That's about the middle, I think. Let me see. I guess y'all
None
can't
of us
see
can
that.
see
can't
what
see
you're doing.
this.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 and a half rows, so it should be in like the 6th row, right?
Yes.
Yeah, about there.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull it up just a little bit is what I'm going to do. Can I not do that? Fuck, I can't do that. Whoops.
Whoa.
Okay, well now I have to take the card back and then recall it and then reshuffle. Great. Shuffle. It was just about right, but it wasn't quite right. Trying to get it right in the middle of the deck or nearish. It's harder than it looks. Because no one can see what I'm doing.
No.
What I'm
It
doing is
says
hitting
just
shuffle.
randomize it, right? Like
You could just be buying time to like take a hit off a secret vape or something. We don't
Mhm.
know.
Oh, if only a secret vape were involved.
You know, it sounds like if you got to put it in the middle, you just got to put it right in the heart of the cards.
You're telling me I should let my heart be my guiding key?
Yes,
Okay.
but cut off before you say key.
The middle would be more like the tummy of the cards.
All right, it's
but
perfect.
That's not a
It's
Yu-Gi-Oh
perfect.
joke,
It's perfect.
so
I got it.
Should be.
I got it. I figured it. It's perfect. Yeah, I agreed. Where the fuck were we? What number was that?
we just did number 9. We're on number
that's my
10.
blue eyes, white
Okay.
tummy.
Oh, God.
Zodia.
When you've read the instruction cards, continue clockwise with the red prompt cards. Take turns reading the questions out loud. Interpret these questions and answer them however you wish.
So to talk a little bit about how this game is going to work, I mean, we'll keep going, and I guess if it's time for me to give more detail, like, I don't remember what the rest of these. I'm going to not spoil the rest of these instruction cards. Let's just go through the instructions cards, and then we can talk some more.
Okay. Number 11 is other players may ask you questions or make suggestions on your turn, but whether you answer those questions or include those suggestions is entirely up to you.
12.
Place the X card somewhere. Everyone can easily reach it.
Modified instructions for roll 20. The X card has already been placed on the playmat. It sure has. It's a big purple and gold X over here on the left.
Oh, it's just
Boop.
that big one on the left. Okay.
Yep.
The organization card.
Right.
Yeah, close enough.
If you encounter a card or an answer that you don't want to be included in the game, tap the X card. That content is removed from the game. For our purposes, you can ping it by clicking on it and clicking and holding on it. You could type an X in the chat here, or DM it to me, or just say out loud, "Hey, can we not include this one?" Or I want to play the X card here. That can be that there is a the X card here is understood very broadly. That can be about content and about triggering content. That can be about content that we just don't want to deal with, or it can be about stuff that we think is just tonally inconsistent or is not interesting to us narratively. The X card is really woven into the way the game is set up here, so that, for instance, if a character asks me a question about a decision I've made, or a player asks me a question and says, "Hey, you've betrayed the queen. Can you tell me why you did that?" I can say, "No, I'm not interested in answering that question right now. Let's talk about that later," or maybe I don't want to answer it at all. So it is a really broad use. What number was that? Was that
I think that was
13? So now it's 14.
14, yeah.
Yeah. If you draw a card that is removed this way, simply draw another card. You can X a card that you drew yourself. So if you draw a card and you're like, I actually don't want to answer this question, you can X card it.
Number 15, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You can also pass on your turn. To do so, give the prompt card you drew to the next player and say, "I'd like to hear your answer to this question."
It's true, you can do that.
A prompt card can be passed around the table until someone applies the X card to it.
Janine, 17.
Continue answering, passing, and Xing questions until the Queen is under attack card is drawn.
Yep. 18. Each player should answer that question in turn. That question being the one that is on the Queen is under attack card. Then the game is over.
Number 19 is whoever wants to can draw the first prompt card.
So, the way this game works is pretty open-ended. We're going to draw cards from this prompt card deck, and then we are going to answer the question on it for ourselves, and then other people at the table can ask questions to clarify. I think the best way to do this is going to be to play it, but you can imagine if I drew a card that said, the queen shows you great favor, why? And I go, "Oh, well, I am the child of the queen." You could say, "Are you the only child of the queen?" You could say, "Does she show you that favor out of love or out of obligation?" You could say, "Can you describe a moment for me where she showed that extra affection?" Right? We can do that. You could even say, "Can we play out a scene in which I'm the queen showing this, or whatever. In general, we are all playing as characters. You are you. You're not you, Andy Clare. You are you, a character. But we don't know who those people are yet. And even those characters can be arrived at fairly collaboratively. You could draw a card that says you are jealous of someone else, someone else in the retinue. Who are they and why? And you could, in that moment, invent a new aspect that's related to somebody else at the table. They are within their rights to say no, actually, not feeling it, or they can say interesting and ask you another question about that, because they're always able to ask you clarifying questions. So it is a GM-less game, as people are asking in the chat. The other thing here is the right, I was remembering what was on the previous stream that got lost versus this one. So we need to decide where we want to do this. This is a Road to Season 6 game. The map as it stands right now is that we know that there are a few major houses, a major, what we're calling stels, STEL, in the ever-growing Divine Principality. We know that Stel Kesh is the oldest one, is the one that goes back to the old culture of the Principality of Kesh. We know that Stel Nadeo is the one that comes from Aram Nadeo's kind of lineage. We know that Stella Ryan emerged out of the events of previous Road to Season 6 games. We know that there is a fourth one, because I want there to be a fourth one when we get to Season 6, at least 4. There may be more in the end, but so that'll be one. And so maybe the game could be here about something happening in this other area, this kind of the part that you just clicked on there.
I was reading that as the actual name.
It's a cool name.
Stelle Four, which is French for oven.
Great. So yeah, are they
Yep,
cooks?
say it. No. Oh, that's
What were you gonna say?
we're burning Stel 4.
Oh my god.
Come on, it's an oven.
Don't
be mad because I thought of it first.
It's fine. Yeah, listen, I will say that there was that the fifth house was like the working title of Season 6 at a while, so I get that just naming a thing a number is exactly a thing that you could be. Or sorry, not the fifth house. The fifth house was one of them. The other one was the sixth season. But I was like, you know what? We've already done a Seasons of Hyron. We can't do another season name in a game this soon. So this could be, who is this Stell? What is this clan? What is this house? How did they become a major clan? Who is their leader? The queen does not need to be a queen. It can just be a leader of some sort. If we are in the Divine Principality, I would like it to be someone who uses she, her pronouns still. The other alternative is, I'm super interested in what happens when Apostolos, whatever shape it's in the future, comes face to face with the might of the Divine Principality, and whether it decides to be consumed by an assault, fight to the bitter end, and be kind of brought to heel that way, or if, like what happened with Stella Ryan, it willingly joins. I'm very curious about how that plays out. And I can imagine this being that game where the queen is actually someone who's using they, them pronouns, and is the apokine or some other equivalent of whatever the ruler of future Apostolos looks like. And they are like in the middle of figuring that out. And we aren't necessarily sure. And I'm not sure, right? Like that is the thing that would come out of play. It's like, well, what is this person doing? Are they going to like throw the biggest last haymaker they can at this place? Or are they going to bend the knee, so to speak? So like that's a big question. I'm happy to do either of these things. The thing that's interesting with Cell 4 is that it would be a place for us to build an entirely new culture, but it would be doing it in a really new way for us, where we don't sit down and go, okay, like, what are they like? It would be really like in media res, like building it by the way we answer questions about ourselves and the queen, which could be fun. But those are kind of the big distinctions I would say here, Does anyone lean one way or the other?
Yeah, I think
what
I
I'll say
lean
is
more
we will.
towards. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I lean more towards Apostolos.
Can you explain why a little bit?
I guess I'm like, I feel like most, at least what I've been involved in so far has been like very, very more on the new side of things as far as like leading up to season 6. And I'm
Sure.
interested to see like what the familiar name looks like and how familiar it stays or doesn't.
Fair enough. Yeah, totally. Someone in the chat says, "What's up with the divine?" Or what happened to the autonomous diaspora? People should go back and listen to the last live games.
Was that Beam Saber? Was that the last one?
It was Beam Saber was the last one. The one before that was Echo and Dusk to Midnight. Dusk to Midnight by Riley Rethall. And I guess Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey, both of which are fans of the show and are in the fan Discord. Shout outs to both of them. I'm cool with Apostolos if Andi and Janine are. And if they're not, I would rather have the conversation than be like, all right, let's do this thing you don't want to do. Yeah. Okay. All right. I like that too. Here's the thing I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to link us, or I'm just going to pop them up on the page in front of us. If you give me a second. Got to go over here and then type in. Just like a quick. I'm actually curious. How much of old Apostolos do we want there to be in current Apostolos? Or whatever it is.
Well, you've already talked about, and I agree with you, the kind of the emphasis on keeping the they them pronouns.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say again, actually, and I have them. I'm going to put them on the screen in a second. The ones that we developed for the Apostolicians back during Counterweight. That's the name of the show we did, right?
The one that's going to be on a T-shirt in like a week.
Yeah, in a week. Can you explain that while I get this image together really quick?
Oh yeah, we're launching merch.
Hell yeah.
Through Fangamer, we're going to have a Counterweight T-shirt. We're going to have Deputy pins, and we're going to have a map of Marielda. And
all of which rule.
Yeah, they're all really good. And I know you get the Laser Ted sticker if you buy the T-shirt. Do any of the other ones have like little pack-ins or anything like that I'm forgetting?
I think that's it. I'm pretty sure that that's it.
I'm just gonna drop this link in the chat really quick.
Yeah, please do. So these are the pronouns and eidolons that we had for Apostolos eons ago. They are very clearly in jokes regarding Chiron when I first wrote them. Like they map very cleanly to the Samptheon, but because you pronounce them differently and because the culture around them is so distinct, I think that it's not necessarily a bad thing. I've kind of gone back and forth on this over the years, but the eidolons are, for people who don't remember this, are Apostolician kind of paragons of virtue. They are who, when you were, this is at this point, 50,000+ years ago in Apostolician culture. So all of this is up for grabs. All of this could change, though I still absolutely want there to be a default when we speak to they, them pronouns. I don't want that to shift because I think it's such a key part of what we've put forward about Apostolician culture. And I kind of want to keep this idea of pronoun choice as being key to what it means to grow up inside of Apostolician culture. So the eidolons were kind of the great heroes of Apostolician history, and became not houses in the sort of medieval fantasy sense, but became sort of icons that you would relate yourself to at key moments of your life. As you grew up, you would, at different points in your life, choose one to be kind of your what's the word I'm looking for here?
Patron saint.
Sort of like a patron saint. There was a degree more of not ambition. What is the other word I'm looking for?
Aspiration.
Yeah, they were very aspirational, exactly, to where you would say, here are the qualities that I most want to represent as I move into this next stage of my life. Um, so the Apple or Appole was the eidolon of personal sacrifice, family, and the collection of resources. And if you chose to be, if you chose to devote yourself to Apole or Apole, you were Ol, Olm, Olms, Olm Self. Apatine or Apatine was the eidolon of security, patience, and monuments. Apawant, and that is Tyne, Tynem, Tynes, and Tynem self. Though I think that probably better just be Tyne self. We wrote these 4 or 5 years ago, which is wild. Apawanta, the eidolon of journeys, commerce, and challenging oneself. Who, if you were following Apawanta, you took on, Anem, Ons, and Anem self. Apot or Apote, eidolon of instruction, celebration, and wolves, which is understood broadly to just be animals, was Ot, Otem, Oter, and Otem self. Apotesa is the eidolon of construction, military action, and history. Te, Tame, Tase, Tame self. And Apokine, which is the title that was at the beginning of Counterweight held by the then current ruler of Apostolos, and you could basically say, hey, I want to be like the current like Apokine. I want to embody their traits, and so you would choose them, and then you'd be Kinem Kees Kinem self. And so you that would change from generation to generation as the Apokine changed, basically. All of this can change at this point because it's been so long, and because we know that Apostolos left in a different place at the end of Counterweight. Without getting into spoilers, it was not the same kind of culture that it was when it started. I also like the idea of some of these things changing a little bit in terms of pronunciation. I was looking at these earlier, and it kind of like just drilled into the back of my brain that over time, the eidolon of construction, military action, and history would go from being like apotesa to apokesa or apokasa, and you just slip Cass right in there, and just like suddenly this is a god of war, which is not necessarily what Cass was, but given the way we talked about Cass in the epilogue of um, of Counterweight and the way that they were remembered, I think that's really fun. But I just wanted to like put these out there just so we had them on the field as like, even if these cultures at this point are not worshiping these eidolons, these were the ways that they thought about themselves years ago, if that makes sense. But I'm curious if people think that this is where we are at all, or if we want to just kind of dig in by turning over the first prompt and seeing where it goes from there.
I guess I'm wondering if all of these are still a part of like the Apostolos culture at this point.
I kind of like the idea. It's been so long. I kind of like the idea of doing something similar to what we did with Oricon in the last game, in the last Road to Season 6 game, which if you haven't seen, the basic premise was that like over time, what was Oricon, what was the automated diaspora, fell apart and became little squabbling micro kingdoms that were not unified around a single culture because time is long, and how could anything that big last for that long without finding reason to split? But with the threat of the Divine Principality, they kind of rejoined and built new allegiances, and there was still enough cultural similarity and shared history that they were able to kind of rebuild themselves as the Orion instead of Oricon, instead of the Orion conglomerate, it was the Orion Combine. And it didn't necessarily go well for them, but that's how we get back here. And I could imagine a world in which Apostolos, as it ends in Counterweight, because one of the things I really want to do is not betray the end of Counterweight here. I don't want to say like, and then 10 years later, it all fell to shit. But over a long enough time, things could have gone different directions. Do you know what I mean? That like from what became the Demarchy, a culture that was very interested in representation and in making sure the will of people was protected by the structure of government, though also not in a way that was like a pure democracy, you could imagine things going in all sorts of directions, you know? In fact, maybe there's a world in which these eidolons do become more traditional houses, on top of being the ways in which people identify themselves, or there are the leaders of various the people who took those roles in the demarchy in any given generation could have at one moment or another began to build out a kind of longer lineage. Like, I don't know, there's a lot that could happen there. Yes, I also, chat, agree that I like the idea of cast being remembered, even if it's remembered in this kind of weird perversion of who they really were. Big part of why I suggested it. I think let's just go in with this stuff in mind, and we'll try to like color in the lines as we go.
Yeah.
I think the thing to remember at the start is what we already read, which is that we have been at war for as long as we've been alive. I think that's a thing we can answer right away. We've been at war with the Divine Principality, who wants to continue moving north, galactic north, and who sees us as necessary in, for whatever the reason they say, to expanding divinity and to, I think, specifically reclaiming things that they believe were theirs. We can get into that as that continues, but that is like who we have been at war with all of our lives. So I'm going to pull the first one out. Let's see how this goes. Oh, great.
Oh, good
Fantastic.
start.
All right, so I'm going to start with this. The queen is not my queen. Why do I serve her anyway? Why do we serve them? In this case, again, because we're doing apostolos, I'm going to say they, them. Should we decide right now that this is the Apokine? Is this someone who has taken the title Apokine? That way we have just a default title to sub in for queen. Whether or not that, whether or not that's a title that lasted over the last 50,000 years or one that was resurrected, as titles often are in times of crises, who knows? But are we good with just saying the Apokine here?
Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, so the Apokine is not my Apokine, is not my leader. Why do I serve them anyway? I have been sent here by the members. I've been sent here by the Branched, which is what the people who reside in the Golden Branch call themselves now. I am. I serve them because, them being Apokine, because I believe that an allegiance between our peoples is the only way we can stand against the Divine Principality. And because I believe that long ago, Apostolos and the Golden Branch came together to fight an ancient foe, and that we have a shared history, and that we should rekindle that relationship. And so that is why. Does anyone have questions about this? About me, or about the Branched, or about why I would serve the Apokine, or how long, anything like that?
Can you click back over to the galaxy
Yes,
map real quick?
absolutely. Boom. So we are still neighbors.
Yeah, that's what I
The
was
Golden
trying to remember.
Branch and Apostolos, whatever this is at this point, still share, or are like bordering each other, and have some stars that are right up against each other here.
How difficult was it for you to travel from the branch to
Good question.
Apostolos?
I think it was like a big deal. I think we have relationships that at this point exist in this weird generational sense. I think I've been training my whole life for this. I've been basically in transit since I was a child. And that's normally fine when it's like we're shipping you, huge amounts of granite or special metals or whatever through the cold of space over the next century. We've signed this long trade agreement or something, right? But when it comes to like I'm a person, it is very weird to be like drifting in and out of cryo sleep as I go through the black between these planets. We don't have like FTL, or we certainly don't have FTL, but we may not even have like traditional local hyperspeed lanes or whatever between each other. So it was a big deal. I think that this was like someone in among the branched was like, we need someone to go join and to join the Apokind's retinue. And so I think for 30 years or something, 40 years, I was in transit and training and learning along with like a ship of other branched folks.
I have a question.
Sure.
Was this something that you volunteered for, or was it more of a conscription type thing?
This is one of those like respect the fiction things, right? I don't think the Golden Branch ever conscripts anybody.
Oh, okay, yeah,
right. Like I don't think that that's, I can't do that without betraying the ending of Counterweight.
Right.
Carter Richmond says, wait, there's no FTL anymore in the chat. There was only FTL between key planets and stuff. The thing that separated Apostolician ships at the time, if you may remember, was that they could travel through dark space. That's like what made them really like cool. And so I don't think that the branched have those Apostolician ships. So yeah, that's the situation here. But we do not have divines that can create portals or anything like that. Don't ask about how fast travel worked or faster than light travel worked in Twilight Mirage. It was the Twilight Mirage. Everything was fucked. So yeah. Any
Can
other
you
questions?
communicate back to the branch? Or do you just have to fly back?
I think there are runners. I think that there's an Apostolician, like the Apostolicians can travel through dark space, but they can't do it with manned craft at the speeds that would do it. So there's like literally, they're like little darts that get shot from some sort of gravity cannon deep in Apostolician space, and you could not push a person at the speeds that these go. But they kind of like are antennae that get thrown from, they're like javelins. They're called javelins, and they get thrown from Apostolos into the Golden Branch, and along the way they can like pick up messages and send them the direction that they are traveling. And so that's a way to travel between ships on these shipping lines, basically, or to travel or to send a message back home. The thing you have to do is either catch one going back towards the direction you came from, or catch one going the direction you're going, which will get there first and then be flung back, still carrying your message. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah. Also, the note here is we're in the perennial wave, that we're close even to where the perennial wave happened. And so that has completely changed the state of what technology looks like. It's given us a nice clean break here. Things can be as grimy as we want them to be. I've said before that the season 6 like touchstone is lots of like dip switches, and the sound that like turning on a big power unit, the like clunk, boom, that is extremely season 6. Fuses that are like the little fuses and not just like a fuse board with switches, etc. Any other questions, or should we move on? I should see if I have a name. I don't have one yet, but we'll see. All right, ready to keep moving?
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Andi, do you want to draw a card?
All right.
It's in your hand.
Okay. There we go. Oh.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. When was the last time the queen hurt you?
Good question.
Or the Apokind kind. Sorry, I gotta.
No, you're good.
Not just read it. I think it was an indirect hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was something where it was either a. I think it was a. I think it was just like a royal like order that had ramifications on my character's personal life. I think maybe because we've been at war so long, it might have been a question. Actually, I like this idea. A questionable decision to mobilize troops in some way, and that
Interesting.
ended up taking something or from my character.
Were you in war directly, or did you lose something because of the decision that the queen or that the Apokine made?
I was in the war directly, yes, and it's a bit of both, honestly. It is because of the decision. Me being there didn't affect what happened, but it it did have an effect on my character, like on myself. Like that is what, yeah, basically. I was there, but I wasn't able to stop what happened from happening. Basically,
Gotcha.
Are they aware that this affected you the way it did?
no, they aren't. I think, yeah, I think this is something that has been kept under wraps.
Do they? Were you part of their retinue before this decision, or only after?
After,
Huh. Okay.
yeah. Actually, if I can add on to that,
Please.
the battle caused by this decision was what led to me being in the retinue as a part of a like, because I survived it while many others didn't. It was
Gotcha.
sort of a valor thing, and I received a promotion afterwards.
Um, Interesting. Okay, Dre, do you have anything, or do you want to move on?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, your draw.
All right. Red deck, right?
Red deck.
Draw one card. Oh, you just okay. All right, and there.
Ooh,
Whoa. Okay.
big
Um,
one.
The Apokine trusts me, but no one else in the royal court does. Why? I am the Apokine's adopted sibling,
Interesting.
but I was adopted. So I was born of a family that at one point was trying to overthrow the current Apokine.
Ooh.
But in order to basically quell that, there was like a deal made in the court where myself and then one of the Apokines, like by birth siblings, were more or less swapped at birth.
It's like a royal hostage type situation.
Yeah.
Dre, I'm so happy. I just need you to know that we're like, oh, you got it. You're on it. You're on season 6 shit. Just going to dig back here into a conversation I had with Art less than a week ago, in which Art is describing how his character may have been there. There may be their season 6 character that they're planning. Quote. This is me saying, I do think we're going to have some sort of hostage prince situation somewhere in this world. So if you were tied to that faction, that would be good. And Art said, but very polite hostaging. So you're on point here. I love it. What happened to the family you were born into? Did that make peace? Did that lead to peace?
No, it didn't. They still tried, and it went very poorly for them.
Okay.
But I think they went about it in such a way that like it was very grotesque to me. So the family I grew up with always felt like more of a family, and then seeing like the people who were my quote unquote blood, what they were doing was just gross.
Do you know we don't trust you?
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
I think it's very polite hostage taking,
Right.
but I know which conversations I'm not a part of. It's that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other questions here?
I'm drawing a blank.
Have you tried to earn our trust?
I think I used to, but I know the Apokine trust me, and that's pretty much all I care about.
Interesting. Okay. Do you trust the Apokine?
Oh yeah, completely.
Okay. No further questions.
Your witness.
If there are no further questions, Janine, you can draw.
Okay. You are considered beautiful by almost everyone you meet. How does the Apokine make you question that perception?
Ooh.
Jesus.
Um. So I think I was. What's the Apostolician equivalent of a wet nurse? Is there one?
Sure. Do you want there to be one?
I
I think so.
imagine like a wet nurse or nursemaid kind of role.
Yeah.
Um, but that was like a long time ago when I was much, much younger. And eventually, eventually the Apokine didn't need that, obviously, didn't need that kind of caretaker anymore. And I think I returned to my role as like a primarily a fighter, I guess. So a lot of people would still have this image of me as a very sort of like young and nurturing kind of guardian. Um, but to the Apokine himself, it's a very dramatic change.
Right.
It's gone from this sort of very soft, nostalgic face to a very aged and scarred face.
Right.
Um, and I imagine they're not like rude about it, but it's probably one of those things of like, when you have a dinner with family or whatever, and you're like, man, your hair's sure different. There's sure less of it. Like it's stuff like
So
that.
this is is this about physical beauty primarily, or is it also about emotional or just like the relationship you have with them?
I think it's both. I think it's because we had that close relationship, you know, that relationship with everyone else wasn't close. So the changes are not as apparent, both in terms of like physical changes and in terms of like role being
Yeah.
played. Um, like I am not in a nurturing role anymore. So that sort of aspect of the beauty is gone too, even though to people who are outside of it, it's still, oh yeah, they helped raise the Apokine.
Right. And are
I
now
keep switching between Apokine and Apokine.
we can
Um,
pick either. We should pick one though. I like Apokine, I think.
yeah.
Kine like line.
hmm
Do did you have the choice to leave the retinue after your service when the Apokine was younger was over? Or was this a for
Yes.
life?
I
Okay.
think it was probably even suggested that it would be
Ooh.
wise to kind of step out of that attachment
Why'd you stay?
because I didn't want to step out of the attachment.
Oh, okay. I see. I got you now. And now
You
you
want?
are, if you're scarred, are you scarred? You said you were scarred from combat. You fought in
Yes.
this war.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, hmm.
Do we want names in this game or do we want to stay
We
clear of names?
we can totally have names once you have a name.
I have a name.
What's your name?
Antigone Gennady.
Great. Spelled
Gennady spelled Gennady.
Aday.
IY.
IY, Jenna D, not Jenna Day, Jenna D. Great. Any other questions for Antigone? All right, I'm going to draw the next prompt. Boom. Wow, you saved the queen's life once. You saved the Apokine's life once. How? Also, I have a name now. My name is Modus Mariah, Modus space Mariah, spelled Maria, like Maria, but pronounced Mariah. I think it was like early in our journey. Because this is also the thing, is we're on a journey now, right? The game never goes like, and now you're on the journey. We can just kind of start to blend the answers we give with the fact that we know we're on this journey to try to stop this war. I think fairly early on, we were. God, I need to look at a list of things. For the first month of the journey through dark space, we were headed south. I'm going to pull us over to the map again really quick. We were headed from like the kind of like center, or like where the P is in Apostolos, south through the rest of the green. And then do you see these like two stars right here, like in between? I'm just going to draw on this map instead of pinging. Oh, that's way too big. Thin, please. Do you see these little stars right there? They're like right south of the green in Apostolos.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
We had to like stop there to refuel, and that's like a long trip from like here down to here, and I think a month into the dark space part of this trip, we a gate opened, and there had been a divine already in this like at those stars, and it opened a gate to allow for the arrival of a major warship. And so it and the divine that was there, and I'll have to figure out which divine was there. Let's see. I had a list in here. Do I not have the list in here? Oh, is it on my phone? Regardless, a divine attacked, and the thing that I ended up doing was, and maybe this reveals something more about myself than I was ready to reveal at the time, but I went out in a mech of my own, and got into a fight with it, and held it up in such a way that absolutely should have meant the death of myself, except that after the dust had settled, after the main fleet had escaped, and the divine who had killed me left, I started to regrow on my own flagship where my mech launched from, earlier that in the journey, and it is revealed that part of what I am is something similar to the characters Jack and Jill from Jackie and Jillian from Counterweight, or 1415 from Twilight Mirage. I am a being that regrows, but I'm not just regrowing from nothing. It's not like a pod that I come back in. I think that there is like a collection of they almost look like jacks, like jacks that you bounce a bouncy ball and then you grab them, like, jacks,
Mm-hmm.
that slowly realign themselves in some, special room on my main ship, and reconstruct me with a combination of biological and mechanical technologies. And this is part of what it means to be branched, is to be this new type of being that blends the line between like organic and cybernetic, like all the way through. And I just like, I've given my life once for you, or not for you, but for the Apokine. And I think the Apokine begins a tally of each time I die on this journey. And that is how I've given my life. I like held off. Let me look at the divines, my divine names. Does anyone have a good divine that I could have sacrificed myself to hold off on? Let's see. Here's my divine list. Oh, here's who it was. Because it's one that certainly people thought I would have died. It was the divine regalian, which is an archaic word that means of or pertaining to a great fire. And so this was like a divine that set my mech ablaze, like literally set something made of titanium and metal ablaze like it was made of paper, and just like chits, like little wooden chits, like just completely set it ablaze. And yet I reappeared. Any questions?
Did the Apokine reward you in any way for this, or show you favor afterwards?
Not at all. Outside of the counting, right? Like I think there's a degree to which when they start to count something, it counts for something, right? Like you've earned favor by being counted, by being given the grace of their attention. And I think before that, they would not let us, my fleet or like my main ship, even close to their core fleet. I don't even know. I don't actually think it's a big fleet. I think this is probably a small, like it's a retinue, right? The whole thing was like it's just us, but I don't think it's just 4 people. I suspect it's like 4 ships of people. And previous to that, I had been way in the distance, and now I'm allowed to get closer, which is a sort of recognition, certainly.
Is that enough for you?
Yeah. Yes. I think, in fact, when I'm reconstituted, it feels like it's going according to plan. I think we get a shot of Modus Mariah, like sending a message back on one of those javelins that is passing by sometime in the next week. That is like, you know, our first encounter with the Principality came and went as expected. The Apokine has seen use in me. Anything else here?
I guess this is a little broader, but were there any drawbacks to when you came back?
I'm not sure. I am still working out in my own in my head what's up with the branched, and whether this is like how all of them are, or if this is like a perfected technology. What I do think is that there aren't. I think that there's probably like a time at which it's like, all right, I'm not my full self yet. I don't have. There's like a down period, a recovery period from doing this. But I think more than that, it's just like I actually think the drawback is that I need to keep this one physical shape, and each time this happens, it makes me wish I could change my shape into something else. But that for this mission, we've decided this is the shape that best serves our needs. Whereas I think that if I was home, if I had been raised, in the what is used to be the Golden Branch, or maybe still is, the physical form is like something that shifts with your desire and with your expertise in being able to do this. And the hope is to build a world or like the previous to this long stupid war with the Divine Principality, it was this like world of imagining yourself and exploring yourself in the world in different forms. And being at war has meant that we've had to continue to take warlike forms. We've had to continue to build ourselves into bodies that wield weapons better. And so each time I do that, each time I build myself a warrior instead of a poet, or instead of a scientist, instead of a whatever, instead of someone in leisure, right? Instead of someone who likes to play basketball, it's a reminder that we are still in this stupid fucking war with the Principality. Jet Snacker says, inquiring minds want to know what the mech looks like, but if we don't know, I'm just going to cover it in fire. I think it's actually similar in nature to the kind of jacks that I would describe. Like, I think it's a mech that can reconfigure itself by pulling component parts around. I think it like has a few modes that it's in, basically, and like I'm gonna like play off the javelin imagery before, which is it launches and it looks like a spear, and then when it arrives, it kind of like keeps the angles of the spear on its shoulders. It has like big sharp shoulders and like knees that kind of like knee armor that comes up and comes to a point, and probably wield like a half lance in one arm, and then the other, it's like so it has sort of it's almost a little bit more super robot-y than what I normally go for. Think about something like the mechs from the Big O, with those like flat mask-like faces and those like extra big weird um, like piston arms, where like there's just huge forearms. I think that way for sure. Any other questions? BioD in the chat says this is the first time that they've died. I don't think so. I think before I arrived, the Principality tried and successfully destroyed my body once before, and I have since come around the other way. I came back once before. I think it's only because I don't necessarily want to have to be like, why was I so cool with it this time? I think I happened to have had some experience with it before. Any other questions here? Okay. Andi.
All right. Draw one card. How does the queen remind you of her status while on the journey? Or how does the Applecine remind you of their status while on the journey?
Good question.
That is a good question. I think it's like, it's like a quiet authority, right? Is the way I'm seeing it. Where it's like, well, what you mentioned earlier with the Applecine, basically the most like attention you got for literally giving your life for them was just like a tally, essentially.
Yeah. But also, I'm not from here. I don't
For
even
sure.
go here.
But I think it is also one of those things where they seem above it in a way, where people just like are like intuit what they need and what they want for the most part, and then when they do speak up, it is like everybody is silent almost, you know. And I think directly, if if we want something a bit more like direct to my character, who I also have a name for, I'll get to in a sec. I think it's just like assignments that I'm given.
Interesting.
Are ones that would not be given to what would not be given by like most military officials. Like this is not something they'd ask a typical like soldier. And two, the Applecon is the only person I would say yes to for that. And like because it's these like unorthodox and sometimes dangerous tasks, it's one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, the only reason why I'm doing this is because this is someone so above my head.
Right.
Yeah. And my character's name is Orbit Shard.
Great name. Do you take joy in this, or these assignments? Like, are you proud to be getting these assignments?
Yes, but I wouldn't admit that.
Mm.
Um, I try to make it just seem like it's a duty and it's like, oh, it's an honor for this, but I try not to show that it is genuinely like it is a rush and a thrill when I'm given these assignments. So yes, I do enjoy it, and though I try to hide that from the others in the retinue.
Hmm. Um, One day, the Apokine asks you, does not give you a task. I think you're called for, and does the Apokine speak directly, or does someone relay their like commands to you?
I'm thinking that it might be like relayed to me to keep again because it like the way I've sort of visioned these is like these are things that like are delicate,
Right.
and so
Okay.
yeah, basically it's like not something you'd like do in like a normal like war council or something like that.
Okay. So then I think there is a day at which you are called in to the Apokine's like throne room on this ship, and in all of their glory and in their long black robes, they gesture as you come in and as you like stand in attention, and their one of their other servants approaches you with actually I think two of them approach you with what we might call an ark, like a huge crate with gilded um, uh, bars on it, and like the like handlebars on it, and some inscriptions written in like what at this point is absolutely ancient apostolician. um, but also there are some symbols on it that are tied to a legendary hero of Apostolician lore, the first Demarch, Socrates, and uh, the Apokine asks you. I think actually does speak. Um, will you take and protect this?
With my life. That's always the answer, implied or not.
Right.
Orbit always says, "I will do this, and I will like give my life doing this for you."
Great. And so you are given, um, something in a box. What could it be, Andy?
I don't know. We got who knows? It could be anything, really.
Could certainly not something of divine make.
No, what us?
No.
I've never even heard the word divine before.
Any other questions here about how the queen reminds Orbit of their status while on the journey? Sounds like no. Dre?
Let's see what I got.
Ooh.
The queen or the Apokine knows something about me that no one else does. What is it? Also, I figured out my name. My name is Eudora.
Eudora?
Yep.
Got it.
Which a couple of sources say roughly translates to good gift.
Great. You love to be a gift.
Yep. And I probably have a last name, but
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm pretty
Could
sure
you have Go ahead.
I have a last name. It was the Apokines. No one uses it.
Right.
They use the other last name. So I just don't have a last name.
Interesting. So you've lost your last name at this point. Is that what the queen knows about you that no one else does, or is that a side fact?
I think I know it. I know it.
Okay.
But it's like it's almost like the if you have a name but no one uses it.
Mm-hmm.
What does the queen know about me that no one else does?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And I think this is something maybe. Yeah, this is something even I don't know.
Interesting.
So I mentioned that I was kind of part of a like hostage swap.
Yeah.
And then my family went ahead with their overthrow anyway.
Yeah.
That's because the baby that was theirs died very shortly after of illness.
Oh wow! Wait. So the one that like the Apokine's actual sibling?
No.
Oh.
No, the other family's actual child. I don't have anything to do with that family actually, but I was just brought in to put up appearances.
So you were in fact not connected to this at all.
Nope.
But your whole life has been like lived under the pretense that you are from this other family and that everything is in the right and that there was never okay, great. So wait, does that mean you've never known anyone from your supposed other family?
I mean, I met them, and I was and they were introduced to me as
right.
You know,
I
this
see.
is your
as their child.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know this. I think probably the only people that are alive know this is the Apokine, and then the people who also knew it were the people who attempted to do the overthrow, and they are gone.
Right. You'd love to see it. Are you interested in the family that you were supposedly born into, or at this point are you committed to the Apokine's household?
I'm committed to the Apokine's household.
So this isn't something that they could like wield over you in that way.
Or
is it something that actually, or is that actually why it is something that they could wield over you in this way? By like, separating you from the situation.
Yes. I think it would probably shake my trust in the Apokine if I came to know this.
Right.
Just because they have been so seemingly supportive and honest and transparent through like everything else. Why would they bother to not tell me this?
Yeah. Tra5591 in the chat has a question that I think is great because it helps us move from subtext to text here a little bit, which is, are you in place to create the perception that the other family broke their oath?
Yes.
That okay, just to be clear.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, that other, and I don't think they did anything nefarious to the child that was supposed to be me. Like
they just died.
Yeah, like
they got sick. Whatever it happens.
It was very sad, and it happened.
Sadly.
Yeah.
But instead of being like, "Hey, this thing happened," fuck.
Yeah.
What they said was, "Give me another kid."
Yep.
Can we get another kid in here?
Need that backup kid.
Yeah.
Is this
Um,
part of why the Apokine trusts you as much as they do? Like, because there is so little connection, both real and imagined? Or does that not factor in at all?
Um, maybe it's part of it. Maybe that was initially it. Um, and then I think that like actions that I did later on just cemented that.
Interesting. Um,
Like there were probably arguments early on where certain people were like, it doesn't matter what Eudora says, they are
right.
related by blood, and that's a very powerful bond. And like in their mind, the Apokine's like, but is it though?
How close are you in age to the Apokine? Like, were you children together?
No,
Okay, so that means that like you weren't a kid. Antigone was not like also taking care of you as a child.
no. I think Apokine was probably Apokine for a while before I came
Gotcha.
around.
Okay. Um, I had another question, but I've lost it. Probably fine. Oh, was this the Apokine's decision, or was this a decision made by the previous Apokine? Like, how long have I don't? I'm trying to figure out when this attempted coup happened, and whether this was an attempted coup on this current Apokine or on one of their parents or a previously appointed Apokine. We haven't gotten into like how you become Apokine in this moment, but
Yeah. Uh, yes, it was current Apokine's
okay,
plan. Yeah.
interesting. No further questions from me. Love to know your leader, Janine.
You have a personal connection to the land you are currently traveling through. What makes you want to stay, and why don't you?
Interesting. I'll pull
Um,
us back over to this map here, um, really quick. I think if you zoom all the way in, we're probably still in the general vicinity of those two stars. But if you want to move us further down, like we can do that. Or if we want to like cut around a long way, I'll just draw a mark here and be like, here's where we are going to. We're aiming to get to. Let's see, what's a cool place to circle here. Let me draw my shapes. Here we go. A nebula here. You can barely see it, but there's like a little tiny red mark if you zoom all the way in, like in between that circle that I've just added. Yeah. And so if we want to duck through all of this unexplored territory here, that's fine. If we want to try to like punch through, that's fine. If you want to draw a line somewhere else and say here's where we are now and I feel closeness to this thing, that's totally cool too.
hmm. Um,
You can also pass the card or X card it. Totally up to you. If you just don't have a great answer.
yeah, I would. I think I want to pass this card.
So I think it passes to me. I am also going to pass this card.
Okay.
So Andy, do you have an answer, or do you want to pass the card also?
Oh, I have an answer.
Okay.
I remember I mentioned my first question was last time the Apokine hurt you, and I mentioned a battle.
Yes.
This is where that took place.
So where is it? Do you want to? Or what map?
Let's
I'll
get
pull us
back
back
on
over
the
to the map.
Yeah.
There we go. Uh-huh.
Let me see here. I think it's just like a little further down here. Like there's like it might just be me on my monitor, and I realized I was leaning in and
It's
was
fine.
very quiet. There's like a fainter light there right beneath
Yes.
them, and
Can you draw on this map? Is that a thing you're
let
allowed to do?
me see.
I don't know if you can or can't.
That's too big. I can. I just made it too big.
You should be able to undo.
Yeah. There we go. Like around here. Oh, wrong color.
That's fine.
Yeah, like around to just like a little
Yeah,
further down.
A little bit further down. Okay, cool.
And yeah,
This is the battlefield. Is this like are we like passing through the wreckage of a previous fight? Like, is it a planet or?
It used to. I think it's more wreckage than anything. I think there are a couple like small like moons and planets around this area that were deemed strategically valuable, but otherwise aren't actually like used for much. And those were sort of the site around those were the sites of where this battle took place, and I think since then have actually been abandoned.
Oh wow, interesting. How does being back here make you feel?
It is. There's a type of like nostalgic ache to it, you know, where it's like something awful happened here, but part of me wants to be able to face it, and my duties are pulling me away from that. So there's this like it is mostly pain, but it's also like the feeling of leaving something unfinished.
Does the Apokine make any special note of this place as we pass through?
No, I don't think they even notice. Or at least it's. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, or at least it's not perceptible to Orbit that they notice.
Does the thing in the box call to you at all and ask you to do anything in memory? Actually, let me just say this. The thing in the box calls to you and asks you to memorialize what happened here. Do you do something or do you ignore this?
I'm going to ignore it.
Okay.
I don't take orders from that. I get my orders elsewhere, and I've been told to follow them.
There you go. Any other questions here? Janine, I think let's stay on you so you get a card here.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh.
Let's see. You think of someone in this retinue as the queen's favorite. What makes you think this? Dre, what was your character name again?
Eudora.
Right. I think that Antigone would probably I would probably think of Eudora as the favorite, knowing that I suppose something that makes sense to me anyway is that if they don't have any siblings of their own, that would give them even more reason to sort of keep Eudora close. Because, if they trust Eudora and can sort of have that relationship, it makes sense. So I think, but maybe it doesn't get like put forward that way for obvious reasons. Like this is royal families and those are tricky. But I think to Antigone, it probably looks like this is the way that sort of a want of a sibling relationship is manifesting in this much closer relationship with Eudora than maybe you would see otherwise.
So how does this lead you to treat me?
Um, I think that I try to treat you fairly, but I also don't really trust you because I was almost certainly there when all of that went down. If I had,
Mhm.
if I helped raise um, the Apokine and all that. So I think there's just like too much awareness of the difference in the distance there to be 100% cool. But at the same time, I respect their choices and I respect the way they choose to forge their relationship. So I'm not going to be outwardly hostile or like try and whisper in their ear they shouldn't trust you or anything. It is just a matter that I try to keep out of.
Who is your favorite person in the retinue? And it doesn't have to be a player character. If you want to invent someone else here, you can do that. Or it can be a player character.
Um, Probably Orbit, um, because Orbit is coming from, I believe, Orbit is coming from outside of this sort of royal sphere, um, and has, lived their life, like
Yeah,
has not lived their entire life, but has lived a life, like a genuine life, um, that is also within a society that Antigone recognizes is another
right.
big part of
Yeah,
it.
totally.
Um,
It's good you said that because I'm going to describe what I look like in a minute, and
yeah,
it's not going to be what you think.
yeah.
So,
So I think for Antigone that makes Orbit a lot easier to, or a lot more approachable, a lot easier to work alongside, just because there is that kind of bias of familiarity.
yeah. Um, is there anything else I have? I think that's it for me. Who do you think? Who do you think should be the queen's favorite, or do you just not care?
I don't think I care. I think I was there when they were at the stage of their life where like one day their favorite thing was the fish on wheels with the pull cord and the next
All
day
right.
their favorite thing was a little xylophone that also involves fish somehow.
Uh huh.
Um like the toy that the fish use in Little Mermaid to like do the sounds, the music under the sea, that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I think I've because I was there through the sort of childhood fickleness phase of things, and probably a lot of the like tantrums and disagreements and things. I understand that like the way that someone's interest falls or the way that someone's favoritism falls doesn't necessarily bear out in the long term. It doesn't necessarily need to affect me at all as
Right.
long as I'm doing my job and things are going okay.
Yeah. It doesn't all have to be about you, and people are allowed to have preferences and etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna draw a card. Ooh, when was last time? When was the last time the queen showed you real kindness? This is useful actually because I can answer the thing I was going to talk about, which is what I look like. So, someone in the chat, I need to find out who really quick. Here we go. Dylan in the chat said, maybe I've been playing too much Xenoblade, but my head casting for Modus is now Wulfric from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And what I like about that is that Wulfric looks like, let's see if I can, how do I do this? Let me save this image. Looks like the thing that's uploaded right now. Um, Boom.
Whoa.
Looks
Oh,
like
God.
this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll say is Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has some real bad character design in it. The blades, which are like the Pokemon people that you can recruit, are all super horny. They're all just like deeply objectified ladies. But there are also some characters in that set that look fucking rad as hell. And the overall like sense of, yeah, there's a humanoid shape here, but something else is also going on. Some of them have multiple arms. There's definitely a very like Warframe vibe to a lot of them. I'm just dropping a lot of them on the screen right now so you can like see what I'm playing with here. Um, I do think that like when we talk about the branched building themselves bodies for different purposes and building themselves bodies that meet the like that they want to inhabit and that they are frustrated that they need to take on warriors' bodies while at war. Um, this is what I mean. Like I don't mean that they have big muscles. I mean that like some of them have extra arms to wield weapons with, and some of them give up speech so that they never need to divulge secrets. So it's impossible for them to divulge secrets, right? Or they build themselves in forms that are like that can't feel anything and are it is not that they wish they could look more like humans. It's that they wish they could look like this, but also not like this so that they can wield energy swords better or what the fuck ever, right? Um, and so I think like as far as placeholder goes, as far as proportions and shit go, I actually am with Dylan here that Wolfric is like a good starting point. I don't think as many weird antennae here, but I think the other thing that this has made me realize is I don't think that um, that Modus Mariah gets into a mech. I think that Modus Mariah reconfigures themselves into a mech. Also, I actually think Modus Mariah uses she/her pronouns. I think that she like consumes more of this stuff to build into that shape. And the thing that the queen does to show me real kindness is that for 2 weeks, sorry, not the queen, the Apokine, the Apokine orders me to stand down and gives me 2 weeks where I am like relegated to civilian status, where they reject my offer to serve as bodyguard on this journey, and offer that I could effectively saying like take whatever form you want, we will be fine. And I refuse because my job is not to listen to the Apokine. My job is to be part of this mission, and I don't trust them. I don't trust that the Apokine wants me to stand down because it is a real kindness. But because the card is written the way it is a real kindness, and I have rejected it. Any questions?
How did they react to that?
Um, I don't. Looking at the image on our screen, I think they know well how to cover up their own disappointment. Um, but they, I think they let me know that the offer is on the table, so to speak. That I've earned that, over the course of multiple battles or whatever, that I have earned their the right to that. All soldiers in the Apostolician employ are allowed this downtime, and that I've earned that status. Maybe they even call me private or some equivalent thereof. They've given me that title, and with it, that um, not required, or maybe it is required leave, and I've rejected it. And I think that they are upset by that. They're disappointed by it, but they don't let that show. Someone linked another weird one of these. This one's really cute, actually. I like this one a lot. This is a good one. We save this image and bring it over. This is Boreas. Whoa, that's way too big.
Whoa.
But it's very cool looking. Zoom out all the way. I'm gonna shrink this down.
That's Xenoblade?
That's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That's like some sort of big cold rabbit. I don't know.
I don't understand it.
It's a rabbit. It has like a
Yeah, but it has more legs than I understand, is all.
just like the branched.
Okay.
Sometimes you just got more legs than you need.
This also looks like if there was, the whale Pokemon?
Yeah.
Whalmer?
Whalmer or Whale Lord is the evolved
No,
version.
the one that's rounder.
Yeah.
It reminds me a bit of
Wait.
that, but as a killer whale, but like with puckered lips and a rabbit head inside the puckered lips.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I'm
man.
looking at an image here. I think this whole thing is a mouth.
What?
I
Whalmer?
think no, Boreas.
Oh.
I think the whole thing opens up.
Oh. What?
Watch, I'm uploading.
What? Don't believe
Boom.
me. Just watch.
Oh.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah. It opens up in the middle.
And why is there a
There's
Pokeball
Tron
in there?
And I don't know. Sometimes you just make a design and you go, "Is this it?" And you go, "Yeah."
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Nailed it on the first try.
Can't believe you spoiled Detective Pikachu this way.
Any other questions about the queen showing me kindness?
Did your response earn any like ire from like people beneath the
Oh,
Aqua King?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think everyone fucking hates me unless you don't want to. But yes, I think no one spits as I walk out, but that's only because the Apokine is in the room. But yeah, I think that like the idea that the Apokine offered you something and you not only rejected it, but like, yeah, first of all, like they were mad that I was offered it, probably, right? They would never say that because you can't say the Apokine did something wrong, but. Should we go Andi again? Should we skip over Andi because Andi did that last one?
Yeah,
What do we want to do?
I'm fine with if we want to skip ahead just to keep it even.
Okay. Dre.
Drawn one card. Oh.
Whoa.
Ooh.
Huh. The
Okay.
fuck did you do?
So the Apokine had me punished once. What about the memory of that will stay with you forever? Oh, this is easy. Now, can I upload a picture, or would I have to like send it to you, Austin, and you? Would have to
You
drop
should
it
be.
in?
I honestly don't know. You can
Okay.
try
What if I just
if you have one on hand.
drag and drop something?
You can drag and drop a photo from your like hard drive over to it. I don't think you
Uh-oh.
can drag and drop a photo from the internet.
Uh-oh. I just popped
just-
out a roll 20.
Yeah, that's what happens if you
We're
try
back
that.
in there. Okay.
Okay. You just want to put it in chat,
Yeah, I'll
and
just let
I'll
you do
grab it. Again, the question here is: the Apokine has punished you once. So what about that memory will stay with you forever?
Let me reset this so that the stream can see
Hell
everything.
yeah. Oh, Dre, that's the way you can do this.
What?
You can just put it on stream.
Oh, sure, but I want you all to see it too.
Yeah, I got you now.
And also I'm afraid to mess with fucking OBS sorcery.
Yeah, no, well, just open it in a file and drag it over. Oh, are you just capturing the Chrome screen?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Right. All right, then I will upload it for you. 1 second. Downloads. Where the fuck did I? There it is. Boom. Uploading. So.
All right. So
Cool image. What do we got here? Can you describe this for the class?
So the thing I was punished for, as I grew up, it became there were certain physical features of mine that just started to diverge from that family I was supposed to be from.
Oh yeah, sure.
So I have worn this mask for most of my life.
Trey, you're fucking. I just got to tell you, bud, you're just knocking them all out the park for me right now.
Thanks.
Child hostage wears a mask. This is the entire. This is the shit right here. Is this the mask?
Yeah.
Is it a mask like this? Can you describe this mask?
So this mask is like a kind of like white, maybe like a porcelain with like some like brass etchings kind of around the eyes and things like that. And then just a lot of ornate, what I think is kind of like either like ruffles or fans, like going around like the top.
I think it's both. I think it's some ruffles
yeah.
at the bottom and some fans at the top, some fan blades at the top, and some feathers in there
and some
too.
Feathers in there too. It looks like some like stylized like flowers and things like that. I mean, it's very ornate and it's very beautiful. And I think this was like passed off as like a gift, you know, like this was like very intricately crafted, made of probably some very rare and expensive stuff. And I think it was maybe also like, you know, this is to keep you safe, right? If someone ever tried to, you know, shoot you or harm you in some way, like this would deflect those blows.
I'm trying to find out how people can find this at home if they're listening. If you do a search on the internet for, God, this is a
yeah, I just stumbled
phrase.
across this via Pinterest. So
right. So if you do a search for Venedik, VENEDIK, mask, MASKE, then the third word here, modellary, MODEL, like model, and then LERI, all one word, modellary, you will see the thing that we are describing. But actually, you might not see it in the first row. You'll see it in the second row, because apparently this is just a term that gets used. Maybe if you put it in quotations, nope, it didn't help at all. I don't know how to find this just by searching. I'd have to fuck around with this search a little bit more to try to find something. Perfect. But great mask, let me tell you. I love it. I love this mask. Does this? What do I want to ask here?
Welcome to my AMA on my skincare routine. Just ask me anything.
Are people? Does anyone in the fleet or in this group have they seen your real face? Not your real face, because I guess at this have they seen you without the mask on?
No.
Interesting.
Are you thankful for this, or is it a burden?
Oh yeah, no, I fucking love this thing. There's a part of me that wonders if I can take this off.
Oh, you've had it on.
Yeah.
You've had it on.
Yeah. Like there's a part of me that wonders if I can take this off, but I don't even think like that's a question that is in Eudora's mind, because they just don't. Why would they?
Do people have a cool nickname for you because of the mask?
No.
Okay.
That's
still
probably
just
part of the no last name part, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. Sure. Sure.
You know how that song says "mask on, fuck it, mask off"? What if only the first line?
Great. Never. Yeah. Great. Okay. Whew. We're really friends at the table tonight, I gotta tell you. Is this a mask of someone important, or is this just a cool mask that people had around?
No, I think it is intentionally like featureless.
Okay.
Like one of the big things about this mask is like it has like a nose and lips, and I don't even know how I feel about that because we haven't really talked about what physically like apostolicians look like at this point.
Yeah. I think probably still human with scales, where with not scales, with like gill-like features. Before.
I think the face is like intentionally just like flat and very nondescript. Like it's not like this
Are
nose is
the-
modeled after somebody or something like that.
Totally, but are does the iconography, does the use of feathers, does the use of does that stuff refer to a particular family or you know what I mean? If someone in real life was wearing a mask like this, there would be articles all over the internet that was like, this is what the rubies mean.
Mm-hmm.
The answer can be no, to be clear. I'm just trying to dig in a little bit.
I mean, where my mind is going right now is finding ways to make some of these details all match up to the different eidolons.
Right. That makes sense. I like that, though. We don't need to do the specifics,
Yeah.
but that's a good thing to say, is each of the eidolons is represented here.
Yeah.
Right. Cool. Love to be punished because because not even because you did something, not even because you were figuring this thing out about yourself, or honestly, even if someone could, hey, that kid looks different than the rest of their family, is a thing that just happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Love
know what
this
you also
episode.
can't do when you wear a mask all the time? Look in a mirror.
Look in a mirror.
Yeah.
True.
I mean, I look in the mirror all the time because I gotta shine my mask.
Right. Hygiene is fine, right? There's some sort of special mask that keeps your face okay.
Sure. Yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah, it's space tech shit.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Inside, it's like one of those little CD cleaner machines you used to be able to get.
God.
Nice. That actually feels great.
I mean,
You just spray a little bit of whatever solution in the eye holes, and there's a crank hidden, and you turn the crank, and it spins some discs around.
and there's
Right.
that weird pattern all over my skin now.
Well, what's great is the mask. If you turn just so, the light catches you, and you do get that CD rainbow effect. It's beautiful. Great. I'm gonna delete this mask. Janine. Ooh, okay. Something's
I've gotten
changed.
a succession of these.
Yeah, but what I'll say is, one way to play this is this is what you said before is maybe no longer true. You know.
Mm-hmm. How long ago was this mask thing again? Quite a while.
I think it was when they were a kid, right, Eudora?
Yeah. So
Or
at
maybe
least
not a kid. I don't know.
at least 2 decades, if not longer.
Okay.
I think this still probably has something to do with that, because if the mask has been on that long, then it means there would have been some resizing that would have to happen, some readjustment, because your face gets bigger and changes and stuff between adolescence and middle adulthood and things like that. So I think the fact that Eudora has had this mask for so long and still wears it, and I think I understand that there is an expectation that they continue to wear it, that if they showed up without the mask, it would be a thing. And so sometimes, because I am just so used to seeing Eudora in this mask, I don't really think about it. And then sometimes, maybe when I see them trying to reach an itch underneath it or something like that, I have this moment of this has maybe gone on too long. This is not a benevolent thing to do to a person that you actually care about if you do. And that worries me, because if you are just sort of immune to the inconvenience you're causing a person because they themselves don't seem to care about it all that much, why are you keeping them close? What at that point, what is there for you in that relationship if you are that kind of callous?
is the fact that you're not wearing that mask, the fact that you have not directly been inconvenienced in that way, part of what makes you think you may be the queen's favorite or the Apokine's favorite, that like so far you have not been put upon in this way?
I think it's more that when you remove Eudora from the equation, I'm probably the closest thing that the Epikine has to family in the retinue.
Okay.
So it's like, if it's not Eudora, then
Right.
Do
Oh.
you read Eudora wearing the mask as a sign of the Apokine being callous? Or is it more of a, like, this is just what has to be done? And they don't feel great about it, but they do it because, like, this is just what it is.
I think that's probably one of the things that makes this a sometimes I think this and not an all the time I think this, where sometimes the mask seems celebrational and other times it feels, a lot of it looks like it's very solid and not built to be comfortable in the way that you would want. Like, I think it's one of those things where sometimes it's easy to think like, why couldn't this mask be a little smaller? Or like, why couldn't it
Yeah.
be a sometimes mask? um, Things like that. I don't think I'm in on the real reason for the mask. Um,
Hmm. Anything else? All right. I'm going to draw a card. You suspect this journey isn't just about diplomatic negotiations. What else do you believe is going on, and why? Um, I don't think I'm very often in the ship that you are in orbit, but I am there for some reason, a training exercise to make a delivery, like whatever the reason is that I'm on that ship instead of my own. I think I'm on a pretty small ship of my own normally, but maybe yours is a little bit bigger. I something something I have um, picks up the box in your room, like a scanner or piece of technology, something. Or actually, you know what is actually better? Duh, the box calls out to me, and I slip into your room, and I open it up, and I see this thing there that is like, it is like a metallic spinal cord, or a staff that's twisted like a snake. Not twisted, but like long wise, but has that kind of like curve, that snakish curve. You could pick it up and hold it like a staff, and it like it. I think it actually does coil and like form a sort of animal shape, a sort of snake shape, as I open the box, and I think I start to believe that the Apokine is, it is diplomatic negotiations, but not of the sort that we thought. It is not suing for peace. It is um, it is trying to join the divine principality. That this is a gift of a divine. This is the divine integrity, meant to ingratiate themselves with the divine principality and begin the first steps that would turn Apostolos on the golden branch. And I am there looking at it. And that is what I believe is going on here. And I think actually maybe I don't know if the divine tells me that or if the divine. I think what the divine tells me specifically is, one is like, take me, and two is, there are deaths worth dying, so that you do not bring. Wear me, take me and wear me, and find a death worth dying. Do not allow me to become a weapon for them. Orbit, do you catch me in here?
So I was actually about to ask what if you took it or not, and I think maybe I catch you leaving,
Your room?
or like in the hallway, and I'm
yeah.
immediately like suspicious of it. Like it's not a direct like I caught you, but it's like, why are you here? You know? Because I don't want to I don't want to walk in on the integrity thing.
Yeah, fair. We can have this scene.
Sure.
I think with my like big bulky frame taking up the hallway, these hallways were not built for me. My voice is kind of low and rumbly. It does not like my vocal cords are not. It sounds like when I speak, it sounds like my body is vibrating, not like I'm projecting sound through a mouth. Are you certain your apokine can carry the weight?
If I wasn't certain of that, then I'm not sure what else I'd have to believe in. Of course. And I'm not quite sure who gave you clearance to be on my ship right now. But I think you should leave if you're asking these questions. Like Orbit is immediately like furious about this, and I picture them as being very like they're smaller than you. They're like
it's
a
so
wiry
good. It's
person.
such a good image. Yeah.
It's like this very like scarred up Apostolician with like try to prod its like their like robot arm into this giant
in the
like
chest.
chest. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of look down. Modus, she just kind of looks down at you and is like, I was invited in.
But I highly doubt that the Apokine would give you permission to just
not the Apokine.
What?
Someone, something else.
Did you hear it?
It called to me. I saw it. It is dangerous. And not simply because it can kill. Why would she give you a weapon? Sorry, not the queen, the Apokine. Why would they give you a weapon?
I'm a soldier. If my Apokine decides to give me a weapon, if my Apokine decides to give me something and tells me to keep it close, I will keep it close to me, whether it's a weapon or not.
Why would they not wield it? or give it to you and tell you to do such.
Why do you think you can? Who gives you the authority to come onto my ship and start questioning all of this? Start questioning our entire structure here.
History. Future history. If we make the wrong moves now, everything will tumble apart. I spent decades in the dark thinking about the right moves. I could not be sure of your Applekine's intentions or aptitudes. I can only be sure that if the Divine Principality adds your strength to its, it will be unstoppable.
That wouldn't happen. With all they've done to us, with this war we did something happen to you when you came back? Did everything come back all right? That you're not making any sense.
I'm fine. I will leave you. And know that I did not take anything from you. Carry it well. And I step back one step from your finger and your like presence inside of my personal space and slowly try to turn around in this big hallway and walk away. Or this tight hallway and walk away. Any other questions here?
I have one. Why did you
Sure.
decide to leave it? Or is that something you'd rather?
Because if I took it, I would scuttle the mission.
Okay.
I could sense that if I wore it, and I believe that if the Apokine, Modus believes that if she put it on, she would immediately scuttle this mission because the risk is too high, and wonders if the reason the Apokine gave it to you is because integrity would also drive them to make the right decision, what Modus believes is the right decision, and to go out fighting instead of to, you know, beg for pity effectively and join the like actively plead for house status, for Stell status, you know. But yeah, I didn't take it because it's like I think we can do this. We just need more time. We just need to we need to figure out a different solution here that isn't me burning everything down.
Right. I'm out of questions.
Okay. You want to draw a card?
Yeah, might as well. Oh, I hit escape instead of one. Hold on.
No worries.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
You are considered ugly by almost everyone you meet. How does the Apokine make you question that perception?
Oh, shout outs to you, Apokine.
So I mentioned it in the last scene that Orbit has a lot of war scars from that battle mentioned like way back when, at the beginning of the stream. And so that does elicit like a reaction from people when they first see them. The Apokine never had that and has almost never actually commented on it aside from saying thank you, like not even thank you, but like acknowledging that Orbit has sacrificed for Apostolos. Right. And like just knowing that the most powerful person within the like my culture doesn't see me the way that a lot of the other people have been is a big reason why Orbit is so loyal as well. Yeah. So it's kind of like it's almost like giving confidence by omission in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me think. Hmm. No, I think you kind of answered what I had in mind here. Dre or Janine, anything here? Oh, here's one. Does integrity think that you're ugly?
No. And that's that is new and kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Dre.
Let's see.
A lot of beauty questions here.
Yeah. What makes the apokine beautiful in my eyes? The apokine has always been the only person who has ever been consistently and always kind to me. They make time to spend time with me one-on-one. They ask me about my thoughts and my opinions. They listen to me in a way that it doesn't feel like anybody else ever has.
Is this what compels your loyalty to them?
Yeah.
So if you saw a side of them that was not this sort of personal interest or this like that if you could see the machinations at play, would this change your perspective?
It would probably take a lot, but it could maybe start to sow some seeds depending on what it is.
Right.
Like if I saw them, treat someone else cruelly, I don't know if that would make me bat an eye, especially if it was someone that because I've seen them treat people cruelly, especially people who have attempted to, be cruel to me. But I don't know. I think it would probably take a lot, but it would not be impossible.
Is this a unique sort of beauty that you've seen, or is it specifically the apokine status that makes this sort of behavior beautiful? Or sorry, is this a generic, like when you see these same qualities in other people, are you just like, yeah, of course other people are like this, they're regular people, but this is the apokine and that's what makes it beautiful?
No, I think I would notice it and appreciate it in other people as well. But I think again it is that status that makes it exceptional for the apokine. Like, the fact that they have so much that they have to attend to and so much they have to juggle and keep track of. So 5 minutes from the apokine is like 5 hours from someone else.
Right. Any other thoughts here? Or questions, rather. I guess here's one: is do other people see this beauty in them?
I don't know. Probably Antigone. I don't know. Janine, what do you think?
Um, I don't know. Like it, I don't feel like this should be a hard question, but it kind of is.
And maybe this goes back to like the question I asked you. I can't remember if it was last round or 2 rounds ago. The where it was the one about what makes you think that I'm not the Apokine's favorite. Whether it's do you see the Apokine and this mask as a burden and as a punishment all the time, or are there times where you see the Apokine speaking to me or extending a kindness to me, and it makes you wonder, like, is there some sort of genuine relationship or connection there?
I think to some extent that Antigone would rather, if they can avoid thinking about these things, then that's the ideal situation for them is not interrogating it too much and just kind of taking situations not at face value, but in sort of a presumed light based on previous experience and previous understanding of just how everything is supposed to be.
Cool. I keep wanting to say no further questions.
Andy, it's your witness.
Uh-huh.
No further questions. You guys kind of covered it all.
All right. Janine, your card. We're getting there too. I peeked ahead.
Yeah.
Not at cards, but at like how many are left, and we're getting there. Only a few more.
The Apokine sometimes shows interest in your personal life. How do you respond to that, and why? Um, I don't think I respond well. I think there is a degree of like, you know how some people hit that point in their life where they can call their parents by their first names, and some people don't ever hit that point. Saying hit that point is not the correct way to frame
Yeah,
this,
I
but
was gonna say like,
that's
damn, really?
some people have that relationship and some people don't. And there are two ends of that where like it can be weird on the kids end and it can be weird on the parents end. To have that relationship, which is why some people just don't. I do not have that relationship. I don't think I'd want it, but some people do, and that's just the way it is. I think this is kind of that where like Antigone has difficulty with the fact that the Apokine is more than entitled to have that kind of relationship on like not even equal footing, right? Like they're the ruler, um, and Antigone is not a parent, but you spend a certain amount of your life being kind of, at least in a very very small way, in charge of someone, and then when they become autonomous and more than autonomous, when they have a say over you, uh, it's weird. Um, and because Antigone is not really a parent, uh, I don't think I don't think that they've been able to adjust to that in the way that a parent might, by kind of like reconciling, like, well, I'm still the parent and I'm still this, I'm still that. She doesn't really get. Sorry, they don't really get that. Um, so, whenever the Apokine tries to get involved with, like, how's your family? And hey, I saw you talking to so and so. You seem mad. What's going on? Um, I think there is a real conflict between like duty and fealty,
Mm,
and also what that relationship once was. Um, Especially because, being in that sort of nursing role, there's no like gradual fade out there, really.
yeah.
One day you're needed, and then one day you're kind of not. Um, in terms of it being a professional thing. So no transition there means that that's been an adjustment that never really settled into normalcy for them.
All of my questions end up being like, is that something you've wanted to change? But I feel like you've answered, just asked and answered.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have something here?
No further questions.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna draw. Good,
Oh, okay.
great. Who is this distant power you are traveling to, and why do they make you uneasy? Well, let's look at the map again. Let's see. Someone earlier was like, "Oh, are they going to Kesh?" They are not going to Kesh. Kesh is way closer to it's the border. Remember, Kesh is in the Golden Branch technically. So I imagine Kesh is like. I'm gonna draw another circle on here. I think Kesh is probably like boop, like right where that circle is, or I didn't mean to put it in the Golden Branch. But maybe it is. Like maybe right now it is literally in the Golden Branch. Maybe as part of this war it has fallen into the Golden Branch, but it's at that little that I can't zoom in close enough to grab. Oh, there it is. I grabbed it. Oh, but I can't move it now. Fuck. Uh, it's there where I put that circle. Do you see that circle? Right where those three things hit. Yeah. So I think that's Kesh, but we're not going to Kesh. I think we're going to this special nebula called the Twilight Mirage. No, we're not going to the Twilight Mirage. We are going towards. I think we kind of like skirt through the dark because that's what Apostolician ships can do, and head towards this special nebula here, where there is some sort of like. Actually, you know what? It is. It is explicitly in this nebula because the nebula reminds the Divine Principality of the Twilight Mirage. Like it is explicitly um, supposed to evoke the Twilight Mirage, but it has none of the brightness. Remember, the Twilight Mirage was its own light source, and this is not the case for this nebula. Real nebulas, it turns out, you can't see that you're in one. You can only see it from the outside, and so the two things here. They don't happen, but two things are true. One, you should not be able to see a nebula from inside of it, and that is true for this place too. Two, you can see a nebula there because the Divine Principality has projected one, has like released some sort of visible gas around this palace that is like built into I think it's like a series of palaces that have been built into an asteroid belt. And I think we get a lot of like asteroid belts that have been turned into like mining centers and into kind of like down and dirty grimy outsider zones in sci-fi. This is straight up like they have used these palaces to turn them into floating like palatial estates for uh, for some of the highest ranked people in the Divine Principality. And I think we are explicitly going to see the current prince, or I don't know what the title is yet, of the leader of the Divine Principality. I know that there was a regent because I know that Aram Nadeo was the regent for a while, had the title the Resolute Regent. But I think in this moment there is a prince or a princess or a. I would love to figure out a really cool gender neutral or even gender queer title that we can use depending on who is reigning at a given time here. But the current leader of the Divine Principality, who I think is explicitly the person who has like made gains in this war. This war has been going for a long time. And in fact, I want to lean into that thing from before that like this is a war about Kesh itself, and about, or at least that's kind of what the claim is, that like, hey, we're fighting so we can get Kesh back. And yet that has not stopped them from also fighting to the south into where, or the Orion conglomerate once was, or trying to attack Apostolos, which is not in control of Kesh at all, but the Golden Branch is. And so it's clearly like what they've used as justification for this war. But everyone knows that if they got Kesh back, they would just keep pushing and kill even more people. And also the people on Kesh don't want to be part of the Divine Principality, which I think is an important distinction. I think the people on Kesh are like, no, we're good. Like we went through counterweight also eons ago and have developed a revolutionary identity. And so there is like a divide there. And to some degree, everyone who is fighting against the Divine Principality is doing it along with the people on Kesh. That was not like a military acquisition on behalf of the Golden Branch or Apostolos. But I think the people we're meeting, it's the prince, and maybe also the head of. So I think it's like the head of Stel Kesh and Stel Nadeo, the person who is the equivalent of the your character Janine, whose name I'm forgetting, Antigone, who was like, instead of just being the kind of like wet nurse, was the primary educator, and who stayed in that role as advisor, who maybe is manipulating the prince also. And it's making me uneasy because the fact that they would put both of them together means they are highly confident with their control of that space. You know, that is why I'm afraid. And also because the thing I said before, that I think that the Apokine is just going to sell us all out.
This isn't a question so much. I believe Prince used to originally be a gender neutral term.
Oh, really?
Before Princess became a thing. I don't remember where I heard this. I do remember that I heard it somewhere. It in my head, I hear it in Lucy Worsley's voice.
Dre?
Yes.
Do you have Pokemon playing in the background?
Oh, I don't think so. I was scrolling Twitter. Did something autoplay?
Something autoplayed.
Yeah.
Pikachu showed up. Chat blew up. It's very
the original
funny.
Prince Pikachu.
Prince Pikachu. I didn't know that about Prince.
I'm 99% sure that's not apocryphal. I think it's true that Prince used to just mean like royal
Ruler,
kid
right, yeah.
of either
Yeah.
or any.
I believe that. I'll look into it. You didn't have a question though. That was not leading into a question.
No, I just wanted to put that on the table.
I appreciate it.
Because we were talking about princes and princesses and all that.
Mm-hmm. Dre, just so you know, I've done that before. I have to think. I think one of the things I realized today was like, I'm not streaming. That means that if I click on a video by mistake, it won't get me in trouble.
Yep. It's midnight 30, and I did a sleep study last night. So
I feel you. We're almost here for real, just about there. Any other questions here about traveling to this knockoff Twilight Mirage?
And God, how long have we been traveling at this point?
I think that's a good question. I think it's probably been years. This is a long journey. We're going pretty fucking far, and even with Apostolosian ships that go super fast in the dark, it's not great. Okay. I'll bring us back over to the actual sheet. Andi.
All right. Oh. What do you do for the queen, or for the Apokine, that no one else can do? if I can like be a little like loose with the actual verbiage here, I think it's less that it's not it's things that no one else can do, it's things that other people are afraid to do. It's pretty much like I mentioned it earlier that like Orbit tends to go on sort of these like under the radar missions for her, like for them, that things that like aren't like well known even to other military officials, and I think this is part of that. I think it's like even uh even Modus, who like can come back from the dead, does not charge into as many almost certain death situations on orders from the Apokine like Orbit does.
Yeah. Is that something that predates this journey?
It Yes, but it doesn't predate the promotion that led to Orbit being here.
Gotcha. Any other questions? People in the chat joking about the fact that we did absolutely have the card set for the half-hour game and still managed to go for hours and hours. And we've only done one scene. We've only done one real like drill in and do dialogue scene. And as we play, I think we probably all feel like we're not asking enough questions.
Yeah.
At least I do.
Oh, yeah.
So we're us. We just gotta just let it not feel bad. Here's a question: I can just ask you this because this is a GM-less game. Is it true that the reason that they gave you integrity was because you could carry it and they could not? Without falling to its like push to quote unquote do the right thing.
Yes, I think that's yes, that is their theory. That is
Right.
the working belief that the Apokine has, is that
Okay.
Orbit is so loyal to them that this is not a risk.
Right. Cool. I have no other questions.
Yeah, me neither.
Trey?
Guess what, y'all?
I'm ready.
The queen
There
is
it
under
is.
attack.
I love that
Or the
the
Apokine is
flowers,
under
the flowers on this card match your mask.
Oh, shit.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, you're not lying.
So yeah, the Apokine is under attack. Do you defend them? So here's what I think. We can answer this question, each of us. The way this game is supposed to work is, okay, we answer it, and then once we answer the question, the game is over. I'm happy to do that. I'm also happy to put a pin in this and wrap back around where we zoom in on this question. The same way that we did with Dusk to Midnight, Riley Rethal's game. Shoutouts to Riley in the chat, and play out what happens here in this like false mirage. False mirage is, of course, redundant, but in our special world, it is not. Because I would love to play these characters more directly and see how this unfolds, and also to get us playing another game, either a different mech game or Beam Saber game, because none of y'all played in that last Beam Saber game, right?
No.
No.
So the stated original goal here was to get us all used to playing various games and like figure out what we wanted to play for season 6. And that just, we've mostly been playing cool GM-less games or one shots or whatever. But one shots not in mech systems. But I would love to do that. But I still, maybe the thing to do here is to still do a little narration. So Dre, do you want to like set us up on what this might mean and begin the answer here, or do we not want to? Do we actually? is the thing here that we understand attack really broadly, and like, is it maybe more interesting if we are received peacefully and we see what the fuck happens from here?
Yeah, I would definitely rather have the idea of what it means to be under attack to be more of a group kind of conversation than just me
Yeah,
piloting
deciding
something.
it.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say. I really want to see what the downtime stuff feels like in Beam Saber. So I kind of like the idea that they put us up in some. Also, I've been reading a lot of the Imperial Ratch trilogy by Ann Leckie, which does a really good job of having tense pre-fight shit. And so I really like the idea of our fleet arrives in this false mirage, in this false nebula, and is led by ships of the Divine Principality to an empty palace on the underside of an asteroid. It's the only one. Like, there's a whole ring of these asteroids, and each of them has palaces on it. And ours is on one that is upside down, but it's not upside down because it's space, and space doesn't have an upside down. But when you have 13 palaces and 12 of them are all basically on the same side of an asteroid, and ours is the other, and they send us to that one, I don't know, it sends a message. And we land, and it's like, it's totally empty. I think one of the things I definitely want to bring back is something Janine came up with back in our dialect game, which was the appropriation of all of this like fashion that was built around people like wearing statues. um, Jenny, you made a really good point earlier this season of pointing towards kind of like neoclassicism, this like move towards bringing in the the aesthetics of a past idealized like era, but misunderstood. And so I think, I mean, maybe I'll let you speak to this, but your pitch for me earlier was like the Divine Principality is like the people who don't understand the Twilight Mirage's high fashion but want to evoke it.
Yeah, I mean the specific comparison is the idea that like ancient Greek and Roman statues were painted,
Right.
but when neoclassicism came around and everyone was literally putting them on pedestals and venerating them and trying to reproduce them, everything was this like pristine, untouched white because all the paint had been worn off over the years. So when people were bringing back their marbles, it was all just like clean, pristine white. So that was what they reproduced.
So good. So yeah, I think it's a lot of that stuff. I think it's a lot of like the color of the Twilight Mirage without the motion, if that makes sense, right? Um, Maybe another example here is like, I go to this a lot, but the we've talked about the differentiation between English and French gardens a lot. I did a podcast this year on Pride and Prejudice, and that came up a number of times. And I think the thing about Twilight Mirage is it was neither of those things. It was interested in the kind of like open-endedness of identity and self-determination and queerness, and the ways in which those things guided your art and made a space that was like at once expressive and in resonance with the rest of what was around it, yet also never felt like it had too strong of the hand of the author on it. And I think the Divine Principality is the kind of English garden style, which is like, we are going to try as hard as we can to create the feeling of the natural. We're going to try as hard as we can to produce a sense that has always been beautiful in this way. And I think that that's like, the asteroids have been arranged this way. This is not a natural asteroid belt. It is in perfect imperfect harmony in a way that the evokes the resonant orbit but is not the resonant orbit. um and so like, yeah, and that's the other thing. Tra, as you were saying there, Janine, copying the ruins instead of recreating the culture. So it's like a lot of the materials might be the same, but not necessarily for the same uses, right? Like without the actual Twilight Mirage around it, this stuff doesn't work that way. So you do have like holographic projections, but no one here understands that in the Twilight Mirage eons ago, or however many hundreds or thousands of years ago, it's thousands at this point, like seeing something that was projected did not make it less real. But here it's like, yes, we've installed 2 new holo projectors to watch the entertainments on. It's beautiful, isn't it? It's like, no, you don't. People used those before, you idiots. So I
It's
think
also
that's
kind of the idea of a folly, right? Like
right. Yes,
kind
yes,
of going back
yes.
to the yard thing. There's a really good Gentleman Jack is very good, and there's a
Mhm.
moment in Gentleman Jack um where Anne Lister commissions a folly to be built on her land, and the folly is it's just a thatch roof cottage,
Mhm.
but it's still a folly, which is very grand, and like she doesn't want to be perceived as living in this old sort of farm estate, so it has to be a folly. It can't be
Yeah.
build me a little cottage,
Right.
but
Um,
it's just a little cottage.
I mean, okay, well, to that point, then the folly, a folly for people who like. When I first heard the word folly, I was like, do you mean like something a fool does? Is that what that is? Like foolishness, you know? But it's like an ornamental building that doesn't actually. It's just an ornament. It's an ornament. It's like I'm so rich that I'm gonna build a pyramid in my yard, and
Yeah.
not
Or like fake Roman ruins or
right,
things like that.
right. I think that they've rebuilt for people who remember this. There's a sequence in the middle of Twilight Mirage where where the leadership meets. It is like a building that gets described in one of um, the kind of mid-season finale games. I think it's the one that 1415 and Tender Sky are in. It is that building. They've recreated that building, but the proportions are wrong. It's like way bigger than it like it's the same shapes, but instead of kind of being like just a little 2-story building that people went into to debate some things, it's been turned into this massive structure that has all these extra rooms in it. It's just like they had a miniature of it and they didn't understand what the scale was. They thought it was a one, a 144, but it was a 1/100 or whatever. I may have gotten that backwards, but you get what I'm saying. Um, so yeah, I think that's the vibe, and we all just kind of get accepted in, and we go in and unload our stuff and are assigned quarters, and negotiations will pick up next month, I guess. Any other final shots here? Any other final things? Who do you move integrity into your like quarters orbit?
Yeah, I think I do. I think that conversation with Modus really rattled my sort of like worldview. Honestly, just that doubt kind of.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's been years, right? So that doubt just
Yeah.
kind of kept eating away, and
Yeah.
like because of that, yeah, I think I start to like actually talk to integrity.
Interesting. Other questions. Eudora, what is it like to see people who are like wearing faces that look like yours, both on their own face, but also just like on their shoulders? Because that's the fashion, is that people have masks and statues built into their clothing and their ships. Like suddenly you are surrounded by other faces like yours.
I think I get a lot of it's like the equivalent of, have you ever been in like a store, like a department store or something, and somebody asks you like where something is because they assume you work there?
Yeah.
I think I get that a lot.
That's really good. Uh, Antigone, where do you stay in the main household with the Apokine still, or are you like what? How does the Apokine assign you here in this court?
Um, I would I would say that Antigone that I probably stick close.
Yeah.
Um, if only because I mean, I've fought and I've been involved in the war, but also I probably haven't been that far out
Yeah.
from what I would consider home generally. Like, um, I don't think Antigone has experiences and has, you know, done a lot of shit, but to some degree I very much doubt that they would ever be dispatched to like the fringes of the conflict.
Yeah.
Um so, being this far away for as long as it's been, um it would probably feel fairly important to stick close and just for the sake of it almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. Does anyone have a good final shot of the Apokine themselves settling into, this
Glowing red
foreign court?
room with
Yeah,
a
is this
beautiful
with a
chair.
beautiful chair? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, is it this? Is this where they like sit and call court to order?
I mean, Twilight Mirage is a lot of color, a lot of bright color.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we've over the years lost track of what colors are the best for that effect. Maybe we've
You're right.
lost touch with the profound menace offered by a brilliant crimson red. Uh,
Oh, I love a chair that lights up a room, you know?
yeah.
I love a chair that is a lightsaber. That's what I love. All right. We should time that is. Thank you everyone for joining us again. We'll pick up this story in a future episode. And hopefully not that far off. Well, probably June because this is the live for this month. Or maybe if it lines up late May that we do it then, it'll be the June live, but that'll be the way it works. So let's do a time that is.
All right.
We'll do 15.
Yeah, let's do 15.
Mhm.
Okay. Lily in the chat says, like a sunset, right? Red, like sunsets. Thank you again for hanging with us, everybody. I'm gonna try to get the archive up ASAP, but it might be. I guess I did a backup, so we should be fine. We should be fine that I had just like the audio backup going. So I'll try to get it up ASAP. I'm out of town for a week starting tomorrow, and so if it doesn't go up, it might be a little while. But I'll do my best to get it up as soon as possible. I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks again, everybody.
Yeah.
Trey, do you want to take us out?
Oh gosh, yeah, it's me.
You gotta hit the button.
Oh boy.
Bye.
All right, so
Bye.
all right, open another autoplay video again.
Okay, yep, that's it. Step one. Shoutouts again, real quick, to Alex Roberts for making this game. It is really fucking cool. That's all I got.
Yeah.
All right.